former NHL goaltender. And Huts, let's start out in Edmonton, where it was Calvin Pickard stealing the show for the Oilers in Game 4 of their series against the Canucks. It's an interesting one. Frank and I talked about the gamble that they took going with him in Game 4 over Stuart Skinner. When you watch Pickard, his style is maybe a little bit off. Like, to me, he has a little bit of like Mike Smith in him, where sometimes the easy saves, they end up looking more difficult than they should be. What did you make of the decision, and what do you make of the way Pickard plays?
You know, I honestly love the decision. It's easy to look back now and enjoy the fruits of the labor of a guy like that, a veteran, you know, a guy similar to myself, right? He kind of worked his way in and he's has a lot of experience. For me, it's the fact that he has that experience now. It's not like this is a young guy you're throwing to the wolves, right? And Vancouver's kind of established this is the way they're going to play, right? They're not going to generate a ton of quality of chances and quantity of shots. And I think he goes in there and he just makes the timely saves. Even looking at last night, I think the two that go in are deflected. Nothing he can do about it. Yes, his style isn't as appeasing to the eye of some of the modern goalies, the guys that have grown up with the butterfly and the RVH, where Pickard, he is a puck stopper. He's a play reader. He has patience. And I think his experience and just his calmness last night to stay in the moment, stay with it, paid dividends for an Edmonton team that, you know, is going to score 3 or 4 goals a night. They just need their goalie to make a timely save here or there.
All right, Huts, let's look at the other side of this series, because Seelovs has been great, and he's been one of the great stories of this spring with the way that he's reeled off strong play. There really hasn't been too many moments so far in these playoffs that he's faltered. But my question for you is, Thatcher Demko's getting closer. He's now taking shots. He hasn't fully ramped it up to 100% yet, but we're getting to that point in the series where the Canucks season is going to be on the line pretty soon. Would you be tempted at all, if you're Rick Tocchet, even as well as Seelovs has played, to go to Demko at some point in the series?
You know, it's going to be tricky, right? Because now you're trying to catch a moving train, right? Demko's out, and this is playoff hockey, and this is probably one of the fastest teams in the NHL that's going to come at you and generate offense in the Edmonton Oilers. So for me, it's the fact of I think you have to see what happens here in Game 5, right? You know, it's still 2-2. You still have a chance. You got 2 more games at home potentially in that sense, right? If you lose the next one, then maybe you go to Demko depending on how Seelovs plays. But right now, it'd be very tough to make that move because he has been a difference maker and he's played very well. I think for Tocchet, and he's kind of been very clear about that, he needs some of these players to step up, and it's not necessarily about the goaltending. This is going to be a tricky decision. I think both these teams, looking back on this, saying the Canucks and Oilers were going to meet, who would have thought it would have been these two goalies going head-to-head in Game 4? But, you know, for me, I know Seelovs gets pegged as that number 3 goalie, but realistically, he is their number 2. He is their starter waiting in the wings. And his mental fortitude to deal with this and be in the playoffs and play this well, it's been very impressive to watch.
Out in that Colorado-Dallas series, it's been clear who the better goalie is. Jake Ottinger, exceptional once again. He's got the save percentage up at .923. What have you made of the way that this guy, again, you talk about Seelovs and how good and calm and poised he looks for a young goalie. It's easy to forget that, man, Jake Ottinger's still just 25 years old, and it feels like every time we get to the postseason, he finds a way to find another level.
Yeah, so this is kind of similar to what I see right now with Seelovs, right? He's 23 and he's having this great playoff run. And he's playing very well. Where Jake Ottinger, we look back on a few years ago when he had that series against Calgary, he was unbelievable. Where it's trickier sometimes because of expectations, right? He's a younger goalie. He doesn't have those expectations on him in the sense he's just going in and playing, where now Jake Ottinger has expectation. He is supposed to be the guy. He is a guy that is in that upper echelon, you know, a Team USA goalie, a Vezina candidate in a sense, right? He's always in that conversation where he didn't have a great regular season, right? We're talking about 54 games played and a .905 save percentage, which really aren't great numbers. And I think last time I was on, Frank, we kind of chatted about that at the end of the regular season. What's going on with Jake Ottinger? Where now he's got to that level where he's an elite. He's stepped his game up. And for me, it's the timely saves, right? He's great in the third period. He's been great in overtime. And this Dallas Stars team is playing a complete brand of hockey. And Jake Ottinger right now has been their best player, and it's been great to watch here.
I have a question, and maybe Ottinger will be your answer to this one, but we're going to talk a little way too early Conn Smythe in our next segment. But I wanted to float this your way. Which goalie's been the most valuable to their team in the playoffs? Because I think you could look at Ottinger. Yeah, like he's been great. You can say he's been their best player, but they also have a rock solid group in front of him on the blue line. They have a great group of forwards. You can go to the East, you can go to the West. Which goalie's been the most valuable to their team here in the playoffs?
You know, I could take the easy answer on Jake Ottinger here, but I'm going to stay out there. And I think, honestly, like, it's tough in the East right now. I think Igor Shesterkin, other than those 2 losses, has been absolutely rock solid too as well. But for value, for me, I think is Jeremy Swayman. I think the way he's played consistently across the board, especially in a situation where you had that 1A, 1B, he wasn't the guy that just had the keys to the castle, where he's dealt with a lot of pressure. And I think he's managed it so well. And just watching his game, the way he's so calm and he can just stay within himself, where I look at Shelov's moving around a lot. He chases the game. And I think that's very similar to what Jeremy Swayman was a few years ago. But now when you watch Jeremy Swayman, he looks like such a veteran. He's so mature, and he's really put himself in that upper echelon of like high-end number 1 goalies. And I think moving forward, you're going to see him run with it. And like we've seen so far, I think if the Bruins can come back in the series, he would be the guy that is, at the top of the list for me.
Hutz, if it's going to be an early Conn Smythe pick, it can't be Swayman, can it? You got to make it past the second round.
Of course. But he's been the guy that's been most impressive. I said, Andrew, I was trying
value.
To go off the
you
board.
hit it right on the head. Which goalie has been most valuable? You got it. You nailed it.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. I thought you were being a little tough on me there, but honestly, there's so many storylines. It's great to watch, and there's been like that. It's like almost 1-tier goaltending and a 2nd-tier, which has been down low. And I think these teams are really rewarded with the solid goaltending they're getting from those guys.
It's amazing just the difference in pedigree. Like you've got, Swayman, and you've got Shesterkin, and these guys that are going to be some of the very best in the league. And then you've got Pickard and Shelovs and these other guys that have just, Shelovs, no one really was talking about, even though he's well thought of in their organization. And then Pickard, like he's an afterthought at free agency. He's someone that is a nice, hey, break glass in case of emergency guy that the Oilers brought in, that it makes, as you said, the story so rewarding.
No, I agree, right? A very similar like story to my career, right? Like at points I just bounced around from team to team getting contract. And I was just one of those guys that's like, he'll be there. He's serviceable if we need him. And to be in there and what he's done this year, especially having a .909 save percentage for the Oilers during the regular season, which was huge, especially with the Jack Campbell situation. But I view the goaltending kind of like I view the playoffs in this sense. It's like, especially in the East, it was almost like there was a tier 1 of teams that were like the elite teams. Then there was a 2nd tier of level where you talk about the Bruins, the Leafs, and then maybe the next level down would be like the Islanders and Caps, where I think these teams that are going to have a chance to move forward, it's because of that goaltending has pushed them over the top. And it's always fun to see guys step out and really get it done come playoff time.
When you are in that spot, if you're Pickard and you're playing in, so you come in, you're a high draft pick, 2nd round, you make it into the NHL with the Avs, and you think you're going to be that guy that hangs on to a job. He said it last night. You think you're going to be there, and then 10 teams later, here you are, but you stop in Tucson and Grand Rapids and Bakersfield. How far away from the NHL, let alone starting in the playoffs, do you feel?
Far. Like at times it feels helpless, right? And I think I went through that earlier in my career. Obviously, I had a little more sustainability in NHL than Calvin has, but he's been a guy that's been serviceable. And the biggest thing that teams love about him is he's a locker room guy, right? He's going to go in, he's not going to stir the boat. He's not going to undermine Stuart Skinner. Even right now, like he's going to be there supporting Skinner, even knowing that he's taking the weight of this team and the city on his shoulders. He's going to be there. He's going to support him. And for me, it's kind of a win for goalies that are on the outside, right? You don't always have to be optically pleasing in the sense of, you're perfect and you're flawless, because there is so many goalies that are, where for him, he's just a battler, and his commitment to the team and his all around personality. It's great to see him getting rewarded right now.
It's like a golf swing, right? Like no one talks about the beauty of John Rahm's swing, but he's one of the best ball strikers.
Exactly. He gets it done. At the end of the day, you just got to stop the puck anyway. How?
Love that. Hutz, always appreciate your time. That's been another edition of the Blue Paint powered by Booster Juice. Thanks, Hutz.
No problem.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Seravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.